Hello, dear viewers, and welcome to a new episode of the Daily Debate. I'm your host for tonight, Mohamed Al Shazly, and we begin with our top story for the day. As His Excellency the President received on Thursday the Minister of International Relations and International Cooperation of South Africa, Mr. Ronald Lamola. Presidential spokesman Ahmed Fahmy said the South African minister conveyed to President Sisi a verbal message from the President of South Africa, Mr. Cyril Ramaphosa, expressing his appreciation to President Sisi and his keenness on continuing the development of relations and ties between the two brotherly countries. In this context, the meeting reviewed ways to enhance and expand bilateral cooperation between Egypt and South Africa in all domains, especially in light of the two countries' membership in the BRICS group and their active role regionally and on the African continent stage. Moreover, President Sisi stressed the importance of joint work to put African development priorities on the international agenda, as well as to achieve optimal benefit from the new African Union membership in the G20. The meeting also touched on African issues, ways to enhance cooperation through the African Union, and efforts to enhance security and peace in the continent, as the South African Minister of International Relations was keen to confirm his country's appreciation for the Egyptian role in supporting countries facing crises in Egypt's regional environment as well as the continental level. Also the Palestinian cause and the dire humanitarian situation in Gaza and the unabated Israeli aggressions against the Palestinian people was discussed in the meeting in light of the two countries' efforts, Egypt and South Africa's efforts in support of the just Palestinian cause. Foreign Minister Badr Abdel-Ati held a joint press conference with his South African counterparts also today, in which he asserted Egypt's keenness on boosting bilateral relations and cooperation with South Africa in all domains. And they also discussed and talked about the Egyptian and South African support for the just Palestinian cause in the face of the Israeli crimes there. Abdel-Ati also on Thursday met UN Secretary General's Special Envoy for Sudan, and that meeting tackled the situation in Sudan and the Egyptian efforts and the African efforts to bring peace and stability to a war-torn Sudan. And with us now over the phone is Ambassador Mohamed Al Shazly, and he is a former Egyptian ambassador in Al-Khartoum or to Sudan. A very good evening to you, Ambassador Al Shazly. Thank you very much for joining us. And first, your take about the Egyptian-South African ties and the development of these ties and the keenness expressed by both countries to continue to cooperate in all domains, in all fields, and on issues in the African continent and also regarding the just Palestinian cause.
Egypt and South Africa are two pivotal countries in the continent. One in the north of the continent and one in the south of the continent. And the continent is rife with problems. We have at the moment a very serious problem in one of our neighbors, Sudan. violence and fighting has been going on for a very long time, with tremendous price in human life and in destruction, and also the effect of the turmoil in Sudan on the present instability in the Nile Basin region and the intransigence of Ethiopia over the Nile waters. So it is very important to coordinate efforts between Egypt and between South Africa. I think the importance of the visit has been reflected by the meeting of the South African Foreign Minister with President Al Shazly and with Foreign Minister Abdul Hati. I think it is very opportune for them to meet and to discuss the very grave problems that we are facing in our continent.
Yes, Mr. Ambassador, speaking of the Sudanese crisis, how do you see the situation developing in the near future there, the Egyptian efforts, the African efforts to bring about security and peace and end the war there, and how do you see these efforts moving forward? What's your outlook for the situation in Sudan, and especially, of course, that you're an expert in Sudanese affairs, having been Egypt's former ambassador there?
As you have said, Egypt is exerting a big effort to stabilize the situation. The African Union is exerting efforts. The Arab League is exerting efforts. The United Nations is exerting efforts. But all these efforts will be in vain if the involved parties do not realize their responsibility in preventing the mayhem and the havoc that is going on in their country and costing lives and costing fortunes that have been destroyed. We need reasonable thinking between the warring parties to end this tragedy, especially that the people have to take things into their own hands. If the leaderships, especially of the Rapid Deployment Force, does not see reason, and I have always been very pessimistic with the Rapid Deployment Force. This is a force that has been, it's made of irregulars who have been highwaymen in Darfur, and they have caused tremendous harm when they were called at the time the Janjaweed, and they committed many atrocities. And they have now moved to Khartoum, and they have caused havoc in Khartoum. And they went to Al Jazeera, which is one of the most fertile and most productive agricultural regions in Sudan. I think efforts must be exerted to stop this group from causing more damage than it has caused.
All right, thank you very much. Egypt's former ambassador to Sudan, Mohamed Al Shazly, for your time and your insight with us here in the daily debate. And our main topic of discussion for tonight, which is the Egyptian government's efforts to develop slums, and in Egypt the relocation of residents of informal areas of housing into proper living environments is presented as a major achievement indeed, offering citizens a much improved quality of life. And within the exponential growth of slums in the developing world at large, significant strides have been made here in Egypt to prioritize the ultimate goal of urban planning and designing urban areas and creating deliberative context to minimize urban inequalities and reform unsatisfactory living conditions. And furthermore, the new concept known as strategic urban planning has dominated the urban field, and there have been many great success stories here in Egypt in this file. So let's watch this report together. When we come back, we'll be introducing you to our distinguished guests who will be with us here in the studio in a short matter of time to discuss this topic.